Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Tanner here and welcome to a new Ninjago video here on the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at a more mature or adult scene that was recently in Ninjago Season 15 Episode 6, Long Live the King. And because we're going to be taking a look at a specific scene from a specific episode, I must give a formal spoiler warning. This is what you guys get. There will be spoilers ahead for Episode 6, Long Live the King. If you guys have not seen that episode just yet, I recommend watching it and then coming back and checking out this video. There will always be time afterwards after you get done watching the episode, and I recommend watching the episode first. Might just improve your experience a little bit. For those of you that have actually seen the episode, and for those of you guys that don't really care about spoilers too much, let's go ahead and continue. Why are a lot of Ninjago fans calling this episode in particular one of the darkest episodes so far, and what scene in particular caused them to think this way? Now, in terms of my own opinions on this scene, we'll get more into that later on, but the scene in question goes as follows. The ninja are basically introduced to the kingdom of Merlopia, and King Trimar is their leader. He is there to assist the ninja, and he apologizes for the actions of his son Kalmar. Kalmar is essentially on this entirely different level from Trimar. Trimar does not believe in, sinking ships and attacking surface dwellers, but Kalmar, his son, is a little different. Speaking of Kalmar, Kalmar makes his entrance and decides to once and for all end his father's reign in the kingdom by killing him. Yeah, Kalmar basically kills his own dad, and the ninja are blamed for it. The Merlopians attack the ninja, and the ninja go on the run, but Benthermar, Trimar's adopted son, decides to share one last moment with his adoptive father, and Trimar explains that it was actually Kalmar's doing the entire time. The ninja are completely innocent, and then Trimar promptly dies right there on the ground as Kalmar takes over as the king of Merlopia. Unbeknownst to everybody else, he is actually not worthy. He actually ended up stealing the throne from his father, whom he himself killed. So yeah, pretty heavy in terms of modern Ninjago. In terms of modern Ninjago, like I said, a lot of fans have been kind of criticizing it for being a little too light. I think as soon as Season 10 ended, Ninjago decided to revert back to its, classic happy-go-lucky feel that we were kind of introduced to within the first couple of seasons of Ninjago, but a lot of fans really didn't care for that. Seasons 8, 9, and 10 delivered a very dark tone to the Ninjago story that Season 11 onwards never really hit until now, which is interesting. Season 13 got a little close with the darkness and the tragic, feel of some scenes in Master of the Mountain. For example, Cole's flashbacks were very emotional, and that in turn gathered a lot of attention from Ninjago fans that were kind of doubting the newer seasons, but this is on a completely different level. Like I said, we have the main villain killing his own father and taking over the throne of Merlopia in order to get back at the ninja for some reason. In terms of this scene being dark, I have to agree with a lot of fans here. It is very tragic in terms of recent Ninjago stuff. Like I said, Ninjago has been kind of going away from that kind of stuff, but I wouldn't consider this to be the darkest scene ever in Ninjago. I can certainly think of a couple of other dark scenes that we've witnessed prior to this that hit a lot harder and had more of an impact, but still, I really enjoyed this scene for a couple of particular reasons, some of which involve the characters themselves. In terms of this, I have this kind of broken down within the three members of the, Merlopia royalty, whatever you want to call it. We have Kalmar himself, King Trimar, and Prince Benthermar, who of course is the adopted son of Trimar. We already mentioned that earlier. In terms of these guys, I think they're all fantastic in this scene for one reason or another. Why don't we get started by taking a look at Kalmar. So Prince Kalmar definitely decided to make himself known here. Kalmar in the last couple of episodes has been an okay or meh villain in my opinion, very average on the villain scale, but this episode definitely decided to twist him a little bit more and show us that he's not messing around. He is totally willing to kill his own family in order to get what he wants, which again is very dark and very brooding for a Ninjago character. You wouldn't really expect all that much stuff. In past Ninjago seasons, we have seen villains interact with their family. I think the most famous example that I can think of right now, aside from of course Lloyd and Garmadon, is Nadakon. Nadakon and Kalmar are very different for a lot of other reasons, but Nadakon himself actually decided to avenge his father after the kingdom was destroyed on his end. Kalmar is definitely different. He decided to kill his own father in order to take over the throne. In my opinion, that makes him a darker villain than Nadakon, just in terms of motivation alone. Nadakon had a lot of other stuff going on as well in terms of his darkness. I feel like Nadakon is indeed one of Ninjago's darkest villains, but Kalmar is definitely up there in terms of emotion and evilness, I guess. When the Ninjago creators said that the worst villain was yet to come, I believe them now. I believe that Kalmar was definitely who they were talking about because, like I said, his motivations are kind of evil to the core. And he has a reason for it. He's not just evil for the sake of being evil, he's evil because he wants the throne, and he doesn't believe that his father is doing what's necessary in order to keep their people safe, so he decided to take the throne by force. That's a type of villain that I really like to see. I like seeing villains whose backstories make sense and whose motivations you can understand, and Kalmar is definitely up there in terms of not only his performance, but also his villainy in general. Now, in terms of Trimar and Benthermar, Trimar, we never really got a full look at what his character was all about. We just know that he heavily agreed with Kalmar and didn't really care enough to kind of carry out what Kalmar was worried about, i.e. sinking civilian boats and trying to attack surface dwellers. Trimar was definitely not going off of that energy, and Benthermar kind of follows through with Trimar's ideals. Benthermar himself is also a character that we hardly know anything about right now. I imagine we will see more of him in future episodes, but Benthermar, even though he is the adoptive son of Trimar, I feel like their bond is a lot stronger than Kalmar's and Trimar's would be. I feel like Benthermar and Trimar have a better bond because they agree on a lot of stuff politically, and because they're actually sane. They know that the surface doesn't really mean any harm to Merlopia, but Kalmar is definitely on some type of different energy level here. But yeah, in terms of Trimar's character, I thought his death was very emotional, not only because it's a father and son scenario, a son's literally witnessing his father dying, it's because the performances also were really well done. Big props to the voice actors for all of these characters in particular. But in terms of Trimar, like I said, we really don't know a whole lot about his character, and the scene itself gains a lot of its power from Benthermar's reactions and his raw emotion. Benthermar, like I said, is not a character that we know a whole lot about, but I understand his emotions and how he feels during this scene in particular. I think it's a very well done scene here, and once again, I need to give huge props to the voice acting and the writing. The emotion here is absolutely phenomenal, and like I said in my review of episode 6, these are characters that we basically know nothing about now. How is this scene so emotionally grabbing? In my opinion, it's because of the performances and the writing. I feel like this death scene for Trimar in particular is very tragic because, like I said, it is a scene between a father and a son. Even though Benthermar is adopted, he still is more of a son to Trimar than Kalmar ever was. Kalmar and Trimar had a very big gap in their relationship from what I can tell, but Benthermar and Trimar definitely do not share that same gap that Kalmar does with Trimar. It's a little different and a little more deep in terms of raw emotion, and that's why I think this scene works so well. In terms of it being dark, like I said, I feel like this is a very dark scene for Ninjago. Not super, I guess, on par with what we're used to in terms of the tone of modern day Ninjago, but I think it's a very pleasant surprise. I can think of a couple of moments in Ninjago that are definitely darker than this one, like I said earlier, but honestly, I feel like this scene totally works. It's one of my favorite scenes throughout season 15 so far, and it really impressed me watching it because I wasn't expecting modern day Ninjago to hit that hard, especially regarding two characters that we basically know nothing about. Now, does this make Kalmar one of Ninjago's darkest villains? I think so, in terms of the more recent Ninjago characters. I can tell his personality is definitely a little bit more out there as opposed to some other recent Ninjago villains, such as the Skull Sorcerer, or maybe even Chief Mamadis himself, but I feel like Kalmar is definitely going to be bringing a lot more emotion to Ninjago's story within the next couple of episodes. I feel like Kalmar, when it's all said and done, is going to be a very standout villain because of scenes like this, and some other things that he's going to be doing later on in the season that will presumably raise his character's insanity level a little bit more and make him a better character overall. I feel like right now season 15 Seabound is taking everybody by surprise and showing us that even modern day Ninjago can have some dark twists and turns to it that will overall make the season very unpredictable. Because of a couple of other spoilers that we have, we already know that the rest of the season is going to be looking pretty dim as well, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see what that actually looks like when the episodes do come out. But in terms of this episode and this episode alone, once again, I'm very impressed by the raw emotion brought to us by these characters, who we know nothing about, mind you, and that Ninjago is able to do that, especially in the modern day. That's just amazing to me, especially with everything going on in terms of the current environment of Ninjago, how the fans feel about it. I think this definitely made a lot of people reconsider modern day Ninjago, and perhaps think that maybe this does hold a lot of the same potential that earlier Ninjago had, just in a different coat of paint, if that makes sense. So that's going to pretty much wrap it up for my thoughts on this scene here. I think, yes, it's very tragic, yes, it's very heartbreaking, and yes, it's very raw and full of emotion, much like a lot of other things that we've seen from Ninjago prior. I feel like a lot of Ninjago fans will very much appreciate what season 15 has going on, and I can only look forward to what's to come in the future. We're going to be getting a very interesting Ninjago season here, and these first 6 episodes, especially episode 6 in particular, absolutely deliver on that front. So, once again, that's going to pretty much wrap it up for my thoughts here. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below talking about what you think about this scene. Do you think it's one of the darker scenes throughout Ninjago, or what do you think is a darker scene than this? Leave all your thoughts down below in the comments, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and check out the links down below in the description from other forms of social media. As always, big shout out goes out to my Patreon supporters, including once again the marvelous Jan. Thank you guys so much for watching this video once again. My name is TannerFishies, and with that I bid you farewell.